Imagine stepping through the front door of 221B, Logan Place, the Edwardian townhouse Freddie Mercury called home for more than a decade. The polished mahogany floors creak underfoot. The walls are lined with framed Queen vinyl sleeves and evocative photographs, and the scent of old cedar whispers tales of studio sessions and late-night brainstorming. For years, fans could only speculate about what lay behind those locked doors, until one dusty afternoon. The new caretaker unlocked a hidden compartment in Freddie's dressing room mirror and revealed a trove of artifacts so personal, so unexpected, they sent shockwaves around the globe. The discovery began innocently enough. Archivists had been cataloging the house in preparation for a planned museum exhibit, mapping out which rooms would display iconic stage costumes, handwritten lyric sheets, and rare photographs. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary until conservator Lucy Hart noticed an irregular seam behind the triangular mirror Freddie used to apply makeup before concerts. When she gently pried at it, a small panel swung open to reveal a collection of sealed envelopes tied together with silver ribbon, each one marked only with a date, spanning from 1975 to 1991. Labeling these as Freddie's private chronicles, the team carefully extracted them, unaware that they contained revelations that would rewrite our understanding of rock royalty. Inside those envelopes lay hundreds of pages of intimate journal entries, love letters written in trembling script, and cryptic sketches of architectural layouts that matched none of his known projects. There were candid confessions Freddie never shared on stage, his self-doubt before world tours, hidden insecurities about fame, and musings on his mortality. One entry from August 1977 described a restless night spent questioning his identity. "I'm astonished by this reflection I see in my mirror, glam and glitter, but who is the man underneath?" It was a raw moment of vulnerability from a performer always larger than life. The entry concluded with a flourish. "Tomorrow I'll unleash him with who wants to live forever," foreshadowing the song he would write nearly 15 years later. But even more astounding were the letters. Dozens of handwritten notes addressed to someone named M, penned in elegant ink. Many fans immediately guessed this mysterious correspondent was Mary Austin, Freddie's lifelong confidant and muse. However, these letters contained not only declarations of love, but detailed sketches of clandestine performance spaces and coded instructions for secret gatherings. One letter contained precise coordinates for an abandoned East London warehouse, where Freddie and a small circle of closest friends held midnight jam sessions away from prying eyes. These sessions featured experimental tracks that would later evolve into the raw, unpolished demos on Queen's jazz album. Then there was the tiny velvet pouch discovered beneath a loose floorboard in his bedroom. Inside lay a cluster of unusual gemstones, obsidian, lapis lazuli, and tiger's eye, arranged in a precise star formation. According to a note scrawled on a yellowing cocktail napkin, Freddie believed these stones offered protection against negative energy and creative blocks. He wrote, "Place these at the heart of the house before each recording session. Let them guard the music as I guard my heart." The potency of his superstition revealed a side of Freddie rarely discussed, a deep fascination with mysticism that fueled both his stage persona and private rituals. Not all discoveries were heartfelt. In the sunroom overlooking the manicured courtyard, conservators found a hidden safe behind a sliding panel in the bookshelf. Inside were rubber-stamped files labeled FM Legacy containing meticulously dated bank statements from offshore accounts, drafts of a last will scribbled on hotel stationery, and a final, unsigned codicil indicating Freddie's desire to have his entire estate converted to support emerging musicians after his death. While his public will appointed certain charities and designated Mary Austin as his primary beneficiary, this codicil suggested a broader vision, one that might have changed the probate process entirely. Perhaps the most shocking find of all appeared in the attic. Conservators discovered a battered case marked Bohemian Rhapsody, Early Mix. Inside lay a reel of 16-track tape labeled Freddie Raw Vox, April 75. When audio engineers carefully transferred the recordings, they uncovered an alternate vocal take of the band's signature anthem, performed at a slower, more haunting tempo, with Freddie's voice cracks and improvisations laid bare. Instead of the polished, multi-tracked masterpiece the world knows, Listeners heard Freddie testing melodies, stopping and starting, and whispering fragments of lyrics that never made the final cut. It was an auditory glimpse into the creative process of a man who crafted rock history with painstaking care. News of these hidden treasures spread like wildfire. Social media exploded with clips of raw Rhapsody vocals, photos of the Mystic Stone arrangement, and tantalizing quotes from Freddie's journals. Fans debated the fate of the FM legacy safe contents, while scholars clamored for access to those coded warehouse coordinates. Every discovery posed new questions. Did the Mystic Stones truly guide Queen's creativity? What became of the underground jam sessions recorded in that East London warehouse? And who was M, really? A muse, a lover, or both? Almost immediately, the news from 221B, Logan Place sent shockwaves through music historians, archival scholars, and Queen superfans alike. Social media lit up as never before. Dedicated threads on fan forums plotted timelines from Freddie's journal entries, while Twitter hashtags like #LoganPlaceSecrets trended worldwide. Music blogs published deep-dive analyses of each envelope's date, speculating on correlations between his private moods and Queen tour schedules. Even established publications like Rolling Stone and The Guardian scrambled to dispatch correspondents to London, vying for interviews with conservators and insiders who had first pried open that mirrored compartment. Within days, the story transcended mere nostalgia. It became a living mystery, beckoning people to reevaluate Freddie Mercury not just as a flamboyant frontman, but as a man grappling with hidden vulnerabilities and uncharted dreams. Behind closed doors, the custodians of Freddie's estate faced a sudden crossroads. Mary Austin, named primary beneficiary in his public will and longtime confidant, convened an emergency meeting with the Queen Trust's legal team and family advisors. The discovery of that ensigned codicil in the FM legacy safe introduced unprecedented complexity. Could Freddie's last-minute directive to redirect his estate to emerging musicians override his formally executed will? Debates raged into the night, dissecting probate law and the legitimacy of unfiled documents. By week's end, lawyers on both sides prepared statements for the media, one camp arguing that Freddie's final intentions deserved honor, the other cautioning that legal protocols must prevail. Fans watched this unfolding drama with bated breath, aware that the outcome could reshape the legacy of one of rock's most enigmatic icons. Meanwhile, the vault revealed another trove of surprises: raw studio tapes and unedited vocal takes beyond just Bohemian Rhapsody. Audio engineers discovered early mixes of Killer Queen, featuring slowed-down instrumentals and alternate lyrics Freddie experimented with in solitude. One demo of Somebody to Love included melancholic hums and off-the-cuff vocal riffs, painting a sonic portrait of an artist testing the boundaries of gospel-inspired rock. Musicologists immediately pored over spectrogram analyses, charting minute fluctuations in Freddie's vibrato that suggested emotional states unrecorded in public lore. Radio stations began to tease listeners with clips of these raw tracks, while podcast hosts invited experts to debate how these nascent versions might have influenced Queen's final arrangements. Yet the ethereal velvet pouch of gemstones sparked perhaps the most unexpected conversation. Occult historians and crystal enthusiasts debated online whether this assemblage constituted a form of personal ritual magic. Articles appeared in metaphysical journals examining obsidian's reputed power to absorb negative energy, lapis lazuli's link to creative scrying, and tiger's eye's association with courage. An astrologer even correlated the star formation pattern Freddie arranged with his own birth chart, arguing he sought cosmic alignment for his artistry. Critics scoffed at such theories as New Age posturing, while others defended Freddie's right to spiritual eccentricity. What had once been whispers about his avant-garde persona became a full-fledged investigation into how mysticism and superstition fueled his genius. As public fascination peaked, curators at the newly announced Freddie Mercury House Museum raced to incorporate these revelations into forthcoming exhibits. Plans evolved rapidly. The journal entries would be displayed under UV-protected glass alongside interactive digital kiosks, allowing visitors to explore facsimile transcripts. The gemstone constellation would sit atop a sculptural pedestal with LED backlighting, to simulate the nocturnal ambience Freddie favored, and the hidden warehouse coordinates would be overlaid on a large-scale London map, inviting intrepid fans to download an augmented reality app that guided them through a self-led historical tour of his secret jam sessions. Even the battered tape reel of raw Rhapsody vocals would be preserved in a climate-controlled chamber, its audio accessible only through individual listening pods equipped with high-fidelity headphones. In the midst of this cultural maelstrom, those who knew Freddie personally found themselves revisiting shared memories under a new light. Brian May, Queen's guitarist and co-founder, released a heartfelt statement acknowledging how surprised he was by the depth of Freddie's private reflections. He admitted that, despite decades of collaboration, he had never known Freddie to document his innermost doubts so meticulously. Roger Taylor and John Deacon both spoke about how these discoveries reaffirmed their own commitment to preserving Queen's legacy transparently, embracing both triumphs and trials. Even Mary Austin commented that reading Freddie's journals felt like receiving a final gift, a glimpse into the private dialogues that shaped his public artistry. All the while, international interest swelled. Tour operators in London began advertising Mercury Mystery Walks, guiding visitors through neighborhoods where he once walked and pausing at Logan Place for photo ops. Universities organized symposiums on celebrity mystique and the ethics of posthumous revelations. And record labels fast-tracked deluxe reissues of Queen albums, pairing remastered tracks with select demo excerpts from the hidden tapes. Each initiative underscored a single truth. The man behind the microphone was a constellation of contradictions. Brilliant, yet insecure. Public, yet fiercely private. A global superstar, yet haunted by personal quests that only now come into full view. With so many threads extending from that one dusty mirror panel, the story of Freddie Mercury has entered its most dynamic chapter yet. One where newfound artifacts and the legal battles over them promise to define his posthumous narrative as powerfully as his electrifying stage presence defined rock history. In Section 3, we'll explore how these revelations have already sparked controversies steeped in ethics, fan fervor, and the ever-blurring line between homage and intrusion. Controversy ignited almost as soon as the envelope seal broke. Fan forums erupted in heated debate over whether Freddie Mercury's most private thoughts, from confessional journal entries to coded love letters, should be displayed for public consumption. Critics argued that unearthing hidden diaries risked reducing his legacy to voyeuristic spectacle, while supporters maintained that understanding his inner turmoil offered a fuller portrait of an artist who transcended personal pain to conquer stadiums. Social media threads stretched for miles, pitting privacy purists against truth seekers. Each faction lobbied with passion that echoed Freddie's own flamboyant spirit. The clash underscored an uncomfortable truth. The boundary between homage and intrusion had collapsed under the weight of the discovery. In the eye of the storm stood Mary Austin, entrusted both as beneficiary and guardian of Freddie's memory. She issued a carefully worded statement that balanced reverence with restraint, noting her own shock at the revelations and asserting that any public display had to honor Freddie's artistic integrity and personal dignity. Behind the scenes, Mary and the Queen Trust's legal advisors worked around the clock, drafting consent forms, negotiating with museum curators, and drafting guidelines to ensure that nothing was exploited purely for sensational headlines. Their message was clear. Freddie's artifacts could enlighten and inspire, but only through contextualization that respected the man who created them. The unexpected codicil found in the hidden safe plunged the estate into a complex legal labyrinth. Lawyers for the Queen Trust argued that Freddie's formally executed will took precedence, while proponents of the newly discovered document claimed it represented his truest final intentions. Court filings revealed expert testimonies from handwriting analysts, probate jurists, and ethicists, each dissecting the authenticity and enforceability of an unsigned mandate. As judges deliberated, news outlets reported on every development, turning the courtroom into a battleground where questions of artist autonomy and posthumous control were tested under the unforgiving light of public scrutiny. Meanwhile, the discovery of Freddie's clandestine warehouse coordinates spurred a wave of unauthorized pilgrimages. Amateur sleuths armed with GPS apps descended on East London districts at all hours, chasing rumors of secret jam session sites. Some trespassed on dilapidated lots in search of buried tape reels or remnants of midnight performances. Local residents complained of throngs of selfie-seeking fans, while borough councils issued warnings about private property. In response, the Freddie Mercury House Museum announced guided Mercury Mystery Tours, turning potential legal liabilities into curated experiences, complete with historical plaques and augmented reality reenactments that allowed fans to stand where Freddie once improvised on bass and piano. Back in the museum's restored drawing room, curators wrestled with the challenge of curation ethics. Should they display the velvet pouch of protective gemstones alone behind glass, or integrate it into a multimedia installation that immersed visitors in Freddie's mystical worldview? Extensive staff debates weighed the risk of trivializing his beliefs against the opportunity to illustrate how spirituality fueled his creativity. Ultimately, they opted for a balanced approach, pairing the original stones with high-resolution projections that mapped their astrological significance, accompanied by excerpts from Freddie's own notes explaining how each gem anchored his performances. As institutional controversy swirled, Queen's record label seized the moment by unveiling a deluxe EP titled Mercury Manuscripts. It featured selected raw demos from the hidden tapes, including that haunting alternate take of Bohemian Rhapsody and illuminating snippets of early Killer Queen riffs. Critics praised the release as a window into Freddie's creative genius, while skeptics decried it as opportunistic cash grabbing. Streaming platforms reported record downloads, and vinyl collectors scrambled for limited edition pressings. Even radio stations retooled their playlists to intersperse polished hits with these unvarnished demos, creating unexpected emotional jolts for listeners fluent in Freddie's trademark bravado. Amid the cultural maelstrom, academia found fertile ground. Universities from London to Los Angeles announced symposiums titled Privacy, Legacy, and the Posthumous Artist, inviting scholars, archivists, and ethicists to debate the moral dimensions of revealing a legendary performer's secret archives. Panelists examined case studies ranging from Beethoven's lost manuscripts to Tupac Shakur's vault, situating Mercury's diaries within a broader tradition of posthumous mythmaking. Students contributed archival research, questioning whether any guiding principle could safeguard personal dignity once an artist became larger than life. Beyond academic halls, the global conversation touched on deeper issues of memory and respect. Celebrities weighed in on talk shows, acknowledging that modern culture often demands transparency even at the expense of personal boundaries. Some likened the frenzy to a hall of mirrors where fan admiration risked refracting into unhealthy obsession. Others argued that celebrity worship always carried trade-offs. In exchange for inspiration, public figures surrender a sphere of intimacy. Freddie's private documents simply brought that uncomfortable bargain into stark relief. Amid the controversy, the Freddie Mercury House Museum remained committed to a guiding principle: to educate without sensationalizing. Exhibits were designed with sliding panels that allowed visitors to choose how much they wished to explore, from broad timelines of Queen's evolution to intimate corners dedicated to personal artifacts. Interactive kiosks featured curated commentary from Mary Austin and surviving band members, reminding audiences that context and empathy were essential to any honest engagement with Freddie's life. Even as heated public debates continued, teaser trailers arrived for an upcoming documentary titled Behind the Glitter: The Freddie Mercury Chronicles. Produced in collaboration with Mary Austin and the surviving Queen members, the film promised to weave archival footage, newly unearthed audio, and reflections from friends and collaborators into a cohesive narrative. Early clips suggested the documentary would not shy away from Mercury's private struggles, yet would frame them within his artistic triumphs, ensuring that neither facet eclipsed the other. What began as a sensational revelation behind a mirror has evolved into a profound reckoning with the complexities of legacy. Freddie Mercury's uncompromising spirit now stands at the intersection of public fascination and private sanctity. The unfolding debates over ethics, law, and fan devotion reveal that honoring a legend requires more than exhibition. It demands responsibility, humility, and an awareness that some stories resist simple endings. Amid the swirling controversies over archived treasures and raw tapes, A new legal drama burst onto the scene when the High Court in London agreed to hear arguments regarding a mysterious codicil discovered among Freddie's papers. Mary Austin, entrusted under the formal will as primary beneficiary, filed suit to confirm the validity of the publicly executed estate documents and to limit the enforceability of unsigned notes. Opposing counsel representing a group of emerging musicians named in the concealed codicil pressed to treat those handwritten instructions as Freddie's final testamentary desires. On the first day of hearings, packed galleries and live-streamed feeds underscored the rarity of such courtroom proceedings over a rock legend's legacy. Legal experts consulted by media outlets dissected the nuances of probate law, debating whether Freddie's informal memorandum could override more formal bequests. Some analysts explained that English law sometimes grants substantial compliance status to informal documents if they clearly reflect the deceased's intentions. Others cautioned that testimony from handwriting analysts and estate trustees would likely decide the case, examining ink, paper age, and Freddie's unique annotations. Representatives for the Queen Trust emphasized fidelity to legal protocol, urging courts to uphold the will that Freddie signed publicly and witnessed. Meanwhile, lawyers for the beneficiary group argued that ignoring the codicil would betray Freddie's own desire to empower new talent. As the legal saga unfolded, Freddie Mercury House Museum announced additional expansions to accommodate new artifacts and context-sensitive exhibits. Curators revealed plans for a digital archival repository where patrons could access high-resolution scans of journal entries, audio recordings, and personal photographs through subscription-based memberships. A dedicated, time-stamped legacy program would allow registered users to trace Freddie's creative evolution by exploring annotated audio tracks alongside corresponding diary passages. To ensure respectful interpretation, the museum partnered with a panel of biographers, mental health professionals, and astrologers, an interdisciplinary committee tasked with contextualizing each item to honor Freddie's multifaceted identity. Beyond the museum walls, a state-of-the-art virtual reality experience titled Mercury's Mirror began development in collaboration with a leading multimedia studio. Using photogrammetry techniques to faithfully recreate 221B, Logan Place, users can navigate Freddie's dressing room, uncover hidden compartments, and interact with digitized letters and sketches. Haptic feedback controllers simulate the tactile sensation of turning a journal page or sliding a secret panel, while binaural audio recreates the ambience of midnight jam sessions. Previews of this immersive tour debuted at technology expos, drawing enthusiastic crowds eager to inhabit the private world that Freddie carefully concealed in the corners of his London home. International broadcasters showed eagerness to profile this evolving saga, commissioning specials that combined courtroom footage, museum walkthroughs, and fan interviews in Mumbai, Tokyo, and Sao Paulo. Each segment explored local reactions to Freddie's revelations. Indian rock bands praising his spiritual convictions, Brazilian drag performers celebrating his fearless self-expression, and Japanese collectors auctioning rare Queen memorabilia to fund legal defense costs. The global mosaic conveyed that Mercury's story transcended geography, resonating with anyone who's ever grappled with fame, identity, or secret yearnings. Suddenly, an Edwardian brick townhouse on Logan Place had become a nexus of legal, cultural, and technological convergence. Meanwhile, the forthcoming documentary, Behind the Glitter, The Freddie Mercury Chronicles, announced new collaborations with archival filmmakers and cinematographers who specialize in posthumous storytelling. Producer Maya Sharma revealed exclusive access to the hidden tapes, promising sequences that cut between present-day court hearings, VR reconstructions, and rare performances. Editors were granted permission to integrate diagonal glimpses of Freddie's love letters as kinetic typographic animations, bridging intimate content with cinematic flair. Interviewees ranged from Mary Austin and surviving Queen members to the original conservators who first discovered the mirror panel, each offering personal anecdotes to frame the narrative. As fans, scholars, and legal teams continued to negotiate the fine line between homage and intrusion, one guiding principle emerged from both courtroom chambers and museum offices: consent and context matter. Freddie Mercury's legacy, it seemed, would not be defined merely by sensational headlines or private revelations alone, but by the collective choices of those entrusted to preserve his memory with integrity. When the final judgment and exhibit plans coalesce, they will set a precedent for how society honors creators who navigate fame and secrecy in equal measure. In Section 5, we will explore how the artist's newfound financial directives and eventual philanthropic ventures promise to shape his legacy beyond any courtroom drama. This meticulous stewardship may profoundly influence future archival stewardship globally. In the shadow of the courtroom battles and museum unveilings, the ensigned codicil found in Freddie Mercury's hidden safe has become the blueprint for his posthumous philanthropy. When the High Court ultimately ruled that Freddie's formal will must stand, Mary Austin and the Queen Trust nonetheless agreed to honor the spirit of his private mandate by allocating a significant portion of the estate to the FM Legacy Fund, a new endowment dedicated solely to nurturing emerging musicians. Rather than litigate every last line, the executors balanced legal protocol with respect for Freddie's wishes, establishing a grant program that mirrors the years he spent mentoring young talent in those clandestine warehouse jam sessions. The FM Legacy Fund will underwrite an annual Mercury Music Incubator, offering scholarships, recording studio time, and one-on-one mentorship from veterans in the industry. Mary Austin personally named the first cohort, selecting 7 applicants from diverse musical backgrounds: jazz saxophonists, electronic producers, and singer-songwriters, who will spend 6 months at Logan Place, now reborn as the Freddie Mercury Creative Residency. That Edwardian townhouse, once guarded by secret panels and velvet pouches of gemstones, will host its first residence this summer, with rooms repurposed into songwriting lofts and production suites wired with state-of-the-art equipment. The walls that once sheltered Mercury's hidden journals will inspire new compositions, linking past and present in a living cultural continuum. Beyond the residency, the fund will finance a traveling Mercury Masterclass series in collaboration with music schools and conservatories worldwide. Top instructors, many of whom worked with Freddie himself, vocal coaches, pianists, and sound engineers, will lead workshops spanning performance technique, songwriting craft, and the psychology of stage presence. Each year, the masterclass will visit 10 cities across 5 continents, bringing Freddie's ethos of creative bravery to students who might otherwise lack access to such high-level training. Participants will receive instruments and scholarship stipends, ensuring economic barriers do not obstruct the next Queen frontman or frontwoman. To maintain transparency and honor Freddie's insistence on authenticity, the Trust formalized archival access guidelines unprecedented in the music world. Researchers and biographers can now apply to review digitized copies of Freddie's journals and letters, provided they adhere to strict confidentiality agreements and embed contextual analysis that respects the document's personal nature. An independent review board, including Mary, surviving Queen members, and appointed ethicists, will vet applications, ensuring that scholarship outweighs sensationalism. In doing so, the Mercury estate pioneers a model of archive stewardship that balances public interest with the dignity Freddie guarded in life. Financially, the estate's revenue streams, from catalog royalties, museum ticket sales, and the forthcoming Mercury manuscripts reissues, are now channeled into the FM Legacy Fund. Audited reports will be published annually, detailing how funds were dispersed, which artists benefited, and measurable outcomes such as released albums or successful concert tours launched by alumni of the program. This level of accountability sets a new standard for artists' estates, rejecting passive posthumous profit in favor of active investment in the cultural landscape. The philanthropic ethos extends into the architecture of the Freddie Mercury House Museum itself. When the museum opened that mirrored dressing room to reveal Freddie's sealed envelopes, curators recognized how space shapes experience. They have since designated a permanent creation corner, a soundproof studio within the museum where visitors can record a verse of their own compositions, guided by prompts derived from Freddie's journal exercises. These user-generated recordings are saved to a digital archive, transforming the museum from passive exhibit into participatory incubator. In this way, The spirit of experimentation Freddie protected in secret becomes a public legacy for anyone willing to step behind the mic. International collaboration also lies at the heart of the FM legacy mission. Partnerships with festivals in Montreux, Cape Town, and Rio de Janeiro promise satellite residencies and masterclasses, each branded as Mercury Labs. Local governments have pledged grants to match contributions from the fund, ensuring that Freddie's influence reverberates in communities as varied as Mumbai and Mexico City. Even street artists and DJs, whose work Freddie championed quietly in private, are included through open calls and pop-up stages curated under the Mercury banner. As word of these philanthropic endeavors spreads, reactions range from awe to admiration. Industry magazines laud the fund as a living concert of legacy, a dynamic act of generosity that turns estate administration into an ongoing creative enterprise. Music schools scramble to partner with the Masterclass series, while aspiring artists track application deadlines for the creative residency, with anticipation unmatched by traditional scholarship programs. Even skeptics concede that Freddie's final act, transforming personal wealth into a catalyst for future creativity, outstrips any courtroom victory or museum headline in honoring the essence of his artistry. Through meticulous stewardship, the Queen Trust and Mary Austin have ensured that Freddie Mercury's posthumous narrative remains faithful to his own desires. This orchestration of grants, residencies, and educational programs emerges as the grand finale to a life composed in vibrant contrast, public spectacle intertwined with hidden depths, flamboyant performances underpinned by private introspection. By setting the bar for philanthropic and archival best practices, Freddie's estate not only safeguards his personal integrity, but also inspires a global community to carry the torch of creative courage forward. Even as the FM Legacy Fund begins its first grants, a global community of Queen enthusiasts, historians, and emerging artists watch with a blend of curiosity and admiration. Social media platforms buzz with snapshots from the creative residency, where youthful musicians record fresh compositions inspired by Mercury's journals. Universities organize symposiums on musicology and legacy care, pointing to Freddie's house as a blueprint for posthumous stewardship. Meanwhile, fan filmmakers craft tribute shorts that weave dramatized glimpses of Logan Place with archival footage, celebrating each revelation from the hidden safe. Documentarians promise new series exploring unreleased demos. Early teasers of raw audio already circulate online, fueling anticipation for official archival releases. Across London's cultural circuit, Logan Place itself has become a pilgrimage site for introspective art installations. Pop-up galleries project life-sized holograms of Mercury in the very rooms where he drafted those personal letters. Visual artists reimagine his sketches as digital murals, inviting visitors to annotate their own reflections beside Freddie's words. Local theaters stage immersive performances that blend live music with dramatized readings of his secret journal entries, casting the audience as witnesses to his hidden fears. Street artists have begun creating murals depicting Mercury's secret sketches, blending historical homage with community art projects. These events not only honor his inventive spirit, but also spark dialogues on the delicate balance between artistic privacy and collective memory. Internationally, Mercury's philanthropic model has prompted conversations about other artists whose archives remain locked away. Galleries in New York consider adopting the Queen Trust's archival access guidelines for their own collections of private diaries, while conservators in Paris study the Logan Place conservation techniques to protect delicate manuscripts. A consortium of museums in Asia and Australia explore creating local FM legacy satellite residencies, mirroring the London initiative. Even sports charities have reached out, inspired by Freddie's love of cricket and football, to incorporate mentorship modules that blend athletic training with musical workshops and homage to Mercury's multifaceted passions. As these collaborations take shape, a unifying lesson emerges. A creator's final wishes can become a catalyst for cross-disciplinary innovation. Of course, with every step forward, new questions arise. How many more hidden compartments might still sit behind walnut panels or under floor tiles at Logan Place? Are there recordings of aborted film projects or unpublished poetry yet to surface? To manage speculation, The Queen Trust has established the Logan Place Ledger, an open digital log updated by conservators after each exploratory survey. Subscribers receive real-time bulletins about new discoveries or about false alarms when empty spaces yield nothing. The ledger has itself become a minor phenomenon, with fans eagerly awaiting notifications of each scientific sweep. And whenever a new rumor springs up, the trust reviews it responsibly, deciding whether to pursue the lead or to preserve the house's atmosphere of respectful mystery. This final wave of attention has also rekindled interest in Mercury's humanitarian ethos. Charitable coalitions discuss establishing awards in his name for artists who demonstrate both technical brilliance and social conscience. Emerging singer-songwriters propose grants to musicians who address mental health themes in their art, honoring the way Freddie's own vulnerability connected him to audiences. Literary festivals negotiate to include sessions on Mercury's journal writing, focusing on how personal narrative can forge universal empathy. In this evolving tapestry, Mercury's hidden world continuously seeds new forms of creativity and compassion. Ultimately, what resonates most is that Freddie Mercury's life, in all its contradictions, remains a living dialogue, one where private confession and public spectacle coexist in dynamic tension. The treasures unearthed in his London home will be cataloged, debated, and celebrated for generations, each discovery offering a new lens on his genius. Yet his truest legacy may lie less in any single artifact than in the way his story has inspired communities to honor memory and protect privacy. When the sun sets over Logan Place, its floors and dressing rooms stand as witnesses to a story defying simple narrative. In that spirit, we continue to listen, to learn, and to guard the sanctity of secrets that still whisper across eternity. An ever-evolving portrait of human artistry. May it inspire brave creativity everywhere.